everyone, I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to The Melissa Made Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Melissa Made Show. And this episode is actually a follower request, and I love those. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me through social media or my email or even here, giving me requests. I'm asking all the time, who do you want on the show? Which I have a list, don't you worry. And then what subjects do you want? And this one is dedicated to the follower that said, I would really love to learn more about this. So this isn't new science at all, but it's kind of a new idea. It's a new thought, the way that people want to live their life. You know how things have their ebbs and flows, but there is some serious science behind this. And what I want to talk about today is the circadian rhythm. You're like, okay, I've heard that before. Don't really understand it, or you're pretty versed in it. You understand that our bodies do have this internal clock, and we live by that. And it's just like when you go skiing, right? You're not going to go ski. Well, maybe, as I am filming this, y'all are getting some crazy snow up north. It's April tomorrow, and skiing might be all year round. So I can't say this definitively, but if you want to go skiing, you're not going to go skiing in August, right? You're going to go skiing in the cold months because it's better at that time to do so. Well, believe it or not, our bodies are no different. When we eat, when we sleep, when we do activity, there are actually better times for us to do these things in the grand scheme of things. Now, keep in mind, this is, I've been very interested in this ever since I read Dr. Satchin Panda's book, The Circadian Rhythm, excellent book. And a lot of the information that I got for this podcast came from that. And like I said, it's kind of a new hot topic. So a lot of the books I've been reading recently also, kind of hit on the topic of circadian rhythm. But it started off with them, kind of studying plants, because plants do these really weird things, at different times of the day and different times of the year. So they were studying the clocks that were in plants. And guess what? Going from the clocks in plants, then they started studying animals, different types of animals, of course, mice and rats and stuff. And then now they're just doing all of these human studies on the circadian rhythm. And it's just mind-blowing. And so I have some facts for you. And one of the things I want to say before I get started is that, some of these other, doctors and researchers and scientists that I'm learning from, but especially Dr. Satchin Panda, who's been doing this. He is the leading expert on the circadian rhythm, and one of the top leaders. He won this prestigious award for aging as well. And I'm going to say this nicely, but he is way more qualified and knows so much more than your fit influencer. What I'm going to say, which mimics what he preaches, is going to go against what your fit influencer says. Okay. But I promise you, this man, it's his whole life's work. He lives in a lab. They do nothing but science and research and, studies. It's just mind blowing. He's obsessed with it. And he's not pocketing off this. He does talk about time restricted eating because it goes well with your circadian rhythm. You don't get paid for that. You don't make money off fasting. So he's just telling it like it is. And I would love to have him on this podcast at some point in time. He is very calm in his speaking. So when I do listen to him, I do. Did you know this? You can do that because I do with all my podcasts too. And so you won't hurt my feelings. I don't know how fast I talk. I don't know if I'm a fast talker or if I'm a slow talker. I know I'm a mumbler. I'm getting pretty good, but I'm a mumbler. I always have been my whole life. But, when you listen to podcasts, you can up the speed, go to settings, and I listen to every podcast at 1.25. If they're a very slow speaker, I can get away with 1.5, like my schoolwork. I always listen to it really fast. They talk very calm and slowly, and I love it, but I can still get a gist of it at 1.5. So just saying that anyway, would love to have him on the podcast, but we might have to give him a 1.25 or a 1.5 because he's very clear and concise. But I'm telling you, please keep an open mind to what I'm going to tell you. And I'm a little bit sporadic too. I didn't probably spend enough time putting this in this beautiful format. Be bouncing all over the place, but I promise you all the stuff that I'll share with you, you will find fascinating, and it will make you think and hopefully maybe change some of the habits that could be keeping you from having the best sleep, the best energy, and even reaching the weight loss goals that you have. So I want to ask you, what do you think it means to be healthy? Now, it means that in the morning you wake up and you're feeling refreshed, you're full of energy, your digestion function works optimally. You only experience true hunger and you have a clear mind. In the afternoon, you don't experience any lulls in your energy. And at night, you feel tired. You're ready for bed and you fall asleep fast. Doesn't that sound nice? That's the circadian rhythm can have a huge impact on you leading a life like that. It's the way our body was designed, which we will go into different sections, but just the thought of living a life like that every single day, obstacles aside, I understand obstacles aside. And let me put in a little side note, my shift workers, my moms with the young babies, my wives with the snores that have sleep apnea, my people that work 2 and 3 jobs, I understand. Please know I understand. And you're at a time in your life right now that this information is good to know and to incorporate it as soon as you can. But not everything right now might be feasible for you. And I understand that. Shift workers have my heart. That would be so hard for me, but you're needed. And I know it's hard work and you're very much appreciated. And I always say, as soon as you can get out of that, please do. But just know right now, if it's the time of your life to have to be doing that, then by all means, continue. And you're much appreciated for that. But the National Institute of Health, the American Heart Association, and the American Diabetes Association, among others, believe that resetting the circadian clock is our next best hope to prevent or to accelerate the cure for chronic diseases. In 2017, the American Heart Association released their first recommendation on meal timing frequency. This was not done, but I think 70 years ago, where it was showing how eating patterns might be used as a way to prevent or reduce cardiovascular disease. That's huge. The American Heart Association realized that if it's just not, a free for all, and there's actually some sort of limitation on the timing that we eat, it can help reduce or prevent cardiovascular disease, the number one killer for us right now. And I have some studies like that. I'm sure a lot of you are like, I would love to see that study. I will have those in the show notes. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, for now, you guys know I'm getting up there. I'm 49 years old, and I've never been a late night person. Not that much. I mean, I had Tanner when I was 20, so I definitely robbed myself of the early 20s party years. But I will tell you guys, I did have a fake ID at 18. So I did sow my oats from 18 to 20, but that was super young. But for those of you who, even if it's just your chance because you don't get enough sleep on the weekdays, and so you make up for it on the weekends, you sleep in and eat later and you go to bed later just to, Monday start all over again. That is called social jet lag. Now, have you heard that before? But to sum it up, it means that you sleep different hours on the weekdays versus the weekends. And it may seem harmless enough, but it is the reason why you wake up the first part of the week with an alarm clock, still feeling so tired and so groggy and sleep deprived, even if you got your 7 or 8 hours, okay? Because your body relies on a schedule so much that when you throw it out of whack, even just by a few hours on the weekends versus the weekdays, it literally gives you jet lag. Now, anthropologists assume that early humans ate their last meal just about twilight, and that's about when the sun goes down, right? Which left them plenty of time for them to find a place to sleep before it got dark. They rested between 12 and 15 hours, which included sleep, of course. And this nighttime fast of 12 to 15 hours helped cleanse them so that in the morning they would be light and ready to go back to hunt for more food, as opposed to staying up really late and having, a really late night snack right before you go to bed. Most people don't wake up feeling light and refreshed and energetic because of that. We really messed that up when we started introducing processed food and all these preservatives, and of course the refrigerator, which made it so we had access to food all of the time. Now, our modern indoor living also disrupts our rhythm because of the bright lights and the bright screens at night. And then counterintuitively during the day, we actually are indoors to where the lights are really dim, which it should be the opposite. If you can, you really want to work on walking around the house, an hour or two before you go to bed, and dim the lights as much as you can. And first thing in the morning, get some bright light into your eyes to really help set that circadian rhythm. So there are 3 foundations of health. Can you guess what they are? I'm going to give you a second. What do you think the 3 foundations of health are? And I'm literally visualizing you, my people, in your car with your finger. I could see it. Are you in your car right now? So I think most people listen to their podcasts. I listen to them on my walk, sometimes in the car or on an airplane. But anyway, they are sleep, nutrition, and activity. Okay, so let's talk really quick about those 3. And I think it was Dr. Sachin Panda that calls them the 3 foundations of health, but how your circadian rhythm kind of affects your sleep, your nutrition, and your activity, and the best times to do sleep, nutrition, and activity. You know me, I'm an acronym queen. Can I make that a SAN? And nope, that's a really hard acronym to make. Oh, well. So let's talk about sleep first, okay? So our brain clock gets synchronized with the morning light and starts counting how many hours you are awake. Think about that. The minute that you wake up and you get light in your eyes, your body says, oh, we're awake. It's time to start the day. So if you're getting up before the sun, it's still really important for you to turn on some lights, some nice bright lights, and to wake your body up so it knows that it's awake. So for most of us, after about 12 hours of being awake, because your body starts the clock when it wakes up and it sees the light, it starts timing how long you've been awake. And so after about 12 hours of being awake, our brain clock will gently nudge us to start winding down and to start feeling, just a little bit tired. And most of us want to go to bed after 16 hours of being awake. Totally me. I can tell you without knowing what time I got up and what time I go to sleep, I know exactly. For me, it's really about 15 and a half hours. But I know it. It could be during a movie. It could be out to dinner with friends. When I hit that time, I just feel it. And I'm like, whoa, I'm ready for bed. Honey, we got to go get the check, go get the car. So if you feel like a night owl by chance, it's mostly because you've created habits that have kind of disrupted your circadian rhythm. But you can also, and I know you know this, there's, Sean Stevenson is just a really good resource for, creating really good sleep habits. But you can do all these things to, get you prepared for sleep earlier so that you can break that habit of feeling like you're a night owl, because I promise you're not. There was even a study done where they took these people that were supposedly night owls and took them out in the woods to where there was only natural light, and had them camp for the long weekend. And they measured their melatonin and their sleep patterns. And within 2 days, were able to completely shift it and have them more into that natural way of sleeping, of getting drowsy when the sun goes down and falling asleep and staying asleep and getting up when the sun comes up. It only took like 2-3 days for that to happen. So I know you feel like it, but I promise you can change those habits to make it so you are more of a morning person, which is just better for you all over. So the National Sleep Foundation recommends adults get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. How many hours of sleep are you getting? I have to be honest with you. I've always been a great sleeper. I tell you this all the time, you guys, with my Oura ring, that when I look at my sleep score, it's always really good, but I have one red line every single time, and it's for my latency, which means how fast you fall asleep. And it's usually, it's embarrassing to say, it's 3 or 4 minutes. I could probably show you my phone right now. It's 3 or 4 minutes. And it says that if your latency is below, I think it's 5 minutes, then you're too tired. And so that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. I'm perfectly fine. I love my bed. I put my head on the pillow and I'm out. I'm a beautiful sleeper that way. So that works really great for me, but not everybody. But anyway, if you are sleeping less and you wake up feeling tired in the morning, the first thing you should work on is getting to bed earlier, or figuring out a schedule that allows for at least 30 more minutes of sleep in the morning. Okay. Really, nothing trumps sleep. So if you're waking up, especially if you're doing, number one, if you're doing the social jet lag, try really hard to stick to a better schedule. And I'm going to give you even more reasons, especially when it comes to eating breakfast, why you should have a set schedule. But really try to get rid of that social jet lag. That's really hard on the body. Number two, if you wake up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, just dead, you've got to go to bed a little bit earlier. Okay. And I understand, because I hear this a lot with my clients, it's my time, to be in a quiet house, to be alone. Nothing is more important than sleep. So if you can kind of balance that a little more, so say you like to stay up 2 hours past when everybody else goes to bed, maybe cut that down to an hour. Give yourself just 30 minutes or 45 minutes to have that alone time, but keep sleep a priority. And if, that doesn't necessarily happen, you can't do that for whatever reason, then you've got to work really hard to try to get just a little bit more sleep in the morning, so that you feel more refreshed, because that's super, super important. Okay. Now, if you're getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep, but you're still not waking up feeling that good, there could be something off with your light sleep, your deep sleep, your REM sleep. And again, I highly recommend an Oura ring for this. You get to see how much time you're spending in each one of those. And it's great for education. I'll give you a link below. It's great for educating you on how you can improve these areas of sleep if they're not optimal. It's a really impressive tool for helping you get your sleep. There's meditation, there's stories in there. There's sounds. It's really, really cool. If you don't everybody has one these days, but if you don't have one, I highly recommend. Birthday, maybe for Christmas this year. But every time that we sleep, every time that we go to sleep, growth hormone is secreted from the brain, and it's instructed to check the gut lining for damaged cells and to replace leaky patches with new cells. So if we're not getting a good night's sleep, among many other things that happen, we are not allowing our body to repair the gut, which I've said in a previous podcast. Every time we digest, we actually damage our gut lining just a little bit. I think it was 7%. But if we never give our body the time to heal that does compound, and we don't want that. Your girls in school right now getting her mind blown away with how everything is associated with gut health. It's kind of mind blowing. And so you really want to take care of that gut. And it starts with a really good night's sleep, and which we'll talk about in just a second, not having a whole bunch of food in your belly when you go to sleep. So now let's talk about nutrition. So did you know that having an erratic breakfast time, it confuses your organs and it compromises their function? Using the circadian clock, each organ is programmed to process food for a few hours starting from breakfast. So if your breakfast was at 8 a.m., then the system works optimally for about 8 to 10 hours. I'm going to say that again. Okay. This coming from the top of the food chain, decades of research. If your breakfast was, say, at 8 a.m., then the system works optimally for about 8 to 10 hours. Our digestive system was not programmed to be open 24/7. So even our gut motility is less active at night. So when we eat late, the food moves slowly down the tract and we can develop indigestion. Not only that, when food sits for too long, things can grow. So we really want to eat in a way and at a time that the food moves through our system the way it's supposed to, and it's not slowed down. Some of us already have slow motility. And then on top of that, to be eating late at night when your motility slows down anyway, can really wreak havoc on the digestive system. So listen to me. When you wake up, open your eyes and get out of bed and get some bright light into your eyes. And I'm not talking about the refrigerator. You can see it. And you're waking up, Saturday morning, you open the fridge, you're like, I can't tell you what a difference it's made for me to walk in the morning and get that morning sun. It's not what this is about, but I've lost body fat unintentionally. I've lost body weight unintentionally. I'm in a better mood all around. I have more energy all around because of that. Me really setting my day right by getting some activity and then getting that morning light. Now, listen to me as well. If you live in an area where you don't see the sun very often, come visit me in Mexico. I'll give you a large dose, but also think about getting a box light or something, so that in the morning when you're having your coffee, just sit in front of the box light and get that bright light in your face. You guys, you got to try. They're very inexpensive. Amazon has them all over the place. It would be night and day difference for you if you can incorporate something like that, because you can't get outside and get that natural sunlight in your eyes and on your face. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the total number of hours your stomach is at work. Okay. This is very interesting. So take the earliest you eat any day of the week and then the latest any day of the week. What's that time? So say you start eating at 7 o'clock in the morning and your last meal or your last little snack, maybe a glass of wine, some chocolate, whatever, is at 9 o'clock. So that's 14 hours. Okay. Weight gain. It can be so hard to avoid, especially when we're binge watching our favorite shows and getting invited to party after party. And it's frustrating when we're working really hard and everything seems to be going right, but yet that scale keeps creeping up and up. But I recently learned a really interesting fact about how weight gain works and the super simple ways that we can control it. So I was chatting with Tina Anderson. Now she's the founder of Just Thrive Probiotics, and you definitely want to check out the podcast that we did together. It's really good. She told me that when it comes to fat burning, you and I are basically at the mercy of two specific hunger hormones. Now stay with me. I promise this won't get too sciencey. Now these hormones, which are controlled by your gut, are responsible for switching off your fat storing and switching on your fat burning. Interesting, right? So when your gut can properly parent these hormones, your body literally absorbs less fat from the food you eat and burns the excess fat that you have. Yes, please and thank you. But thanks to our modern toxic world, it's way too easy for these hormones to misbehave and to kind of run amok. So when this happens, we end up choosing foods that we know are bad for us. We're eating more foods, even when we're not hungry. And we're making bad food choices because we think that it just might possibly boost our down mood. Now, that's why it is so important to support the health of your gut so that you get these hormones under control. Now, thanks to Tina, my go-to gut support is Just Thrive Probiotic. If you've been following me, you know I'm obsessed with gut health. Up to 80% of your immune system lives in your gut. So a healthy gut is truly the master key to staying resilient and feeling your best. And with Just Thrive Probiotic, I feel confident that I'm giving my body what it needs to stay strong and balance my hunger hormones so I can avoid unwanted pounds. I trust Just Thrive because their probiotic has more clinical research than anything else out there. You hear that? I love that it's vegan, it's non-GMO, it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, and free from anything artificial. And it's even safe for kids. You can literally break open the capsule and sprinkle it onto any food or drink because Just Thrive strains are so resilient. They are all natural and do not even come alive until they get into your intestines. Now, seriously, I can mix it into smoothies or bake it into any recipe without losing the potency. Now, as a bonus, Just Thrive Probiotic can even support beautiful skin, better sleep, and a brighter mood. Just Thrive is my secret weapon for weight management. And right now, you can save 15% off their award-winning probiotic when you go to justthrivehealth.com and use the promo code MelissaMade at checkout. Your gut is most likely staying ready to process food if this number is more than 12. So if it's more than 12 hours in a day, then your gut is staying ready to process food. It's a lot of work. That is a lot of work for your digestive system. But guess what? There's good news. That is one of the very first things that you can work on to pull back a little bit. If you were 12 or more hours to close that window a little bit for your digestive health, it'll be one of the most profound things you do for your health for the rest of your life. I promise you. Okay. So if there's one takeaway today, it's paying attention to what you have. And if you're having coffee with cream and sugar, that's going to break your fast. And if you're having a piece of dark chocolate with a small pour of wine, in the evening to wind down, that counts too. Okay. It's not just a big meal. Anything that causes your body to digest well. And right now, I know a lot of you are like, because I get this asked many times in a day, my pre-workout, your pre-workout, black coffee, tea. It's really best, to do a true fast. I do have in my Instagram a pre-workout why I feel like it isn't necessarily because it's 35 calories, I think, for 2 scoops. So you can get away with 15 or 20 calories for 1 scoop. But anyway, it depends. Okay. It depends. But you also can incorporate that into your 12 hours, right? And actually legitimately giving your digestive system a break. So it's really important that you figure out that number and you work hard to get it to 12 or even a little bit less if that works for you. Okay. But keep in mind, you're not alone. Only 10% of adults eat for 12 hours or less on a consistent basis. Only 10%. And I know this can be a total coincidence. It's a total coincidence. I'm just throwing this out here, but only about 10% of the people are metabolically healthy. Total coincidence. Total coincidence. So people who can eat all of their food within an 8 to 11 hour window most days will reap the most health benefits. So I want you to compare your last bite or sip with your bedtime. And the difference should be ideally 3 hours or more. Okay. I honestly get so bent out of shape when a fitness person will talk about how you're not going to gain weight if you eat late at night. That's not true. In and of itself, that's not true. But sometimes it's not just about weight. Okay. There's more to life than how much you weigh. There's this aspect of health, right? So it's just not healthy for you to eat right before you go to bed. Sure, you can calculate your perfect macros and your calories and save enough calories, at 10 p.m. before you go to bed at 11 to, not gain weight, but man, you're disrupting sleep hardcore and doing your body a real disservice by doing that. Nutrient absorption takes a lot of energy, which is why it just can't happen all of the time from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and why most of it shouldn't happen during your sleep cycle. So you shouldn't eat right before you go to bed because you're doing a boatload of digesting, from the minute you lie down to almost the time that you wake up. Okay. So sleep reduces the production of ghrelin. You've heard of ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, so that there is a less chance of us waking up and needing to eat. So that's why we can fast while we sleep, is because ghrelin, which tells you you're hungry, gets suppressed. Guess what? If you're not sleeping well, or you're sleeping in a really off schedule and you're creating that jet lag, whether it's true jet lag because you do travel or you have that social jet lag, you mess up the body's natural way of suppressing that hunger hormone, that ghrelin, which the next day sets you up to be extra hungry. So when I said it's not true that you don't gain weight, you may not gain weight because you had more calories, but you can gain weight because you're going to be very, very hungry the next day because you had disrupted sleep, or you had poor sleep, or you didn't have enough sleep. Now, for most people, our circadian clock takes almost 1 day to adjust to each hour of time zone shifting. Did you know this? So even if you go from California to New York, it's going to take you 3 days for your body to really adjust to be optimal again. With you working to have your breakfast at the same time in New York time that you do in California time, and your sleep, it's going to take it 3 days, minimum 3 days. So keep that in mind. It's no different if you have the social jet lag. If you're going to bed at 8 o'clock on weekdays, but 11 o'clock on weekends, and you don't wake up until, let's say 11, you really sleep in because you're a little sleep deprived. You're going to eat later. That is going to take you a couple of days for your body to readjust. So your Monday and Tuesday are going to be really, really kind of crazy because your body has been socially jet lagged for that. Does that make sense? So keep in mind that nearly a third of the acid needed for digestion, your hydrochloric acid, is released in the cephalic phase. Do you know what the cephalic phase is? So the cephalic phase is when you see, you smell, or even the thought of food. Are you thinking of your favorite food right now? Is it making your mouth water a little bit? Well, probably only if you're hungry. For me right now, it's almost 8 p.m. I'm not too hungry. I just had a big salad. So for me, it's not working. But if you're listening to this and you are hungry, I apologize. You've just entered the cephalic phase. And a third of the acid needed for digestion is released during this part. So that goes to show how important it is that you take the time to look at your food, to look at its texture, and to smell it, and to appreciate it, because that starts the digestive process. So even a small snack after dinner, which for me, I used to be guilty of this. I used to have my dark chocolate probably an hour and a half after dinner. I've learned to have it almost immediately after dinner. Number one, it's not very much. So it's not like I don't have room in my stomach for it. And I still want it, but I want it at pretty much the same time I had dinner. So it can all be digested at the same time, but I digress. But if you have a snack after dinner, a piece of chocolate, a glass of wine, even an apple, that triggers the secretion of gastric acid, starting, and the entire digestion process, which lasts forever, begins. So it might be tough at first to abstain, but the benefits of not eating, past dinner are so worth it. Okay. It's tough. And one of the things that really helped me get out of that habit, because I did have that habit, is a cup of hot tea. You can get all different flavors of, hot tea that don't have any calories, and they're actually really good for you. When we're here in Texas, I love to go in the sauna after dinner. It keeps me busy. If you're in the habit of sitting down and having a snack after dinner when you watch TV, try to change your setting a little bit. Try to have the tea instead of, the little bag of chips or popcorn or whatever it is that you like. And try to change what it is that you have. But if that doesn't work for you and all you think about is having that snack, I would highly encourage you just try something different. Don't sit there on that couch. Instead, maybe go into the bedroom. Maybe you don't want to eat in bed, or you guys take a quick walk around the block first, something to help change that habit so that you don't eat late at night, because it is so important for us not to do that. As soon as you have that little tiny snack, you're starting the digestive process all over again. And it's like you're starting from scratch instead of when you had dinner 2-3 hours ago, which should have been the last thing that you had to eat. Okay. So eating late at night is not only bad for your metabolism, but it also affects your sleep. Now, this habit interferes with both falling asleep and maintaining deep sleep. Now, in order to fall asleep, listen to this, your core body temperature must cool down by almost 1 degree Fahrenheit, which is quite a bit. But when you eat, our core body temperature actually goes up as blood rushes to the core to help digest and absorb nutrients. So, in fact, I bought Mick an Oura for Father's Day. It was actually for me, but it was his Father's Day gift. And it's like the chill pad. And I set it so it's warm when I crawl into bed. And then I drop it down to be in the 60s. And it helps my body temperature drop, which is probably one of the reasons why I fall asleep so fast, which I've done that for years. But you really do need your body temperature to drop in order for you to fall asleep. And if you've just had a big meal or you're still digesting, your body is not going to allow that body temperature to drop. And you're going to sit there wide awake, wanting to fall asleep, but not being able to do so. Okay. So let's talk about physical activity. It improves your sleep. Okay. Hands down, study after study across the board, activity in the day. You need to move during the day, and that's going to help you be a better sleeper. Okay. So did you know that your optimal brain function is highest between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m.? That's when you should notice that your best work of learning is done. Okay. So, which is great because that's usually when most of us are at work or their kids are at school anyway. So that's a good thing. Studies have shown that this is the window during which we are in the right frame of mind for making really good decisions, solving problems, and navigating complicated situations. Now, whether it's day or night, make sure that you are sitting only when you absolutely have to. And I'm saying that as I am at my standing desk right now. I want you to move as much as you can. Now, we expend very little energy when we're sitting, which has a direct adverse influence on our metabolism, our bone strength, and our vascular health. When we don't use our muscles, we lose them. And at the same time, we're also building body fat. So being sedentary, even just for a few days, can dramatically increase your risk of metabolic diseases. Okay, so get up and move. Okay, and this activity, the reason I'm saying this, you're like, well, does this have to do with circadian rhythm? Is this is the time where you are your best, so whether you're drawing or you're trying to create plans for your business or your next family vacation or how you should organize the pantry because it's a disaster, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. is the absolute best time for you to do that. But most of the time when we're in that creative process, we're sitting. Okay, so you've got to work really hard I tell my clients this all the time. If you have a job where you're sitting, try to get, talk to your boss. Unless you are your own boss, you get yourself your own damn standing table. But if not, ask your boss for a standing table, or if they mind that you get one, or look at the clock and set an alarm every 45 minutes. Get up and try to take a 10 to 15 minute, go to the bathroom, get yourself a drink of water, take a lap, get outside, take a couple of deep breaths, but try not to sit for any length of time, for much length of time whatsoever. To get up as often as you can. It's really, really important. Okay. So early morning is a great time to get outside and start moving. Like I said, a brisk walk or any outdoor activity in the presence of bright light is an excellent way to synchronize the brain clock. It will improve your mood for the rest of the day. 150%. I hate it when people say that. 200%. Impossible. Get some quality movement in during the early hours of the day. They do say that optimally to work out in the morning hours is better. Then like second best is like afternoon. But the only time that you can get exercise and movement in is in the evening, that's still perfectly fine. Okay. You want to get some quality movement in during the day, during the early hours of the day. Be productive midday, like I said, between 10 and 3. And then maybe get a little bit more movement in the late afternoon or the early evening. It's so good for you and so good for your blood sugar to have your dinner and go take just a short 10 or 15 minute walk with a loved one or by yourself. There's your time to be alone and just take a walk around the neighborhood, listen to, the birds, the animals, put some headphones on. I'm not a fan of TikTok at all, to be honest, but gotten suckered into it because I don't use it for business. And so my feed is nothing but comedians. So my Instagram is animals. It's mostly animals now. And my friends and family and coaches, partners. But TikTok is 100% comedians because it's all I pay attention to. So I can walk and listen to some, it was just so good for the soul. So you can change what you see on your social media. There for a while, I was all, other nutritional people. Some I respected and celebrated. Others I was like, oh, I don't agree with that. And the ones that I didn't agree with were really starting to, so I just stopped. So if you're following people that don't make you feel 100% wonderful, 150% wonderful, then stop following them. Please stop following. It makes a huge difference. And make sure you sprinkle in things that bring you joy, whether it's traveling or gardening or decorating or, animals. Can't go wrong with animals. I mean, every once in a while I get a sad one, but 99% of the time it's just the most amazing stuff. So anyway, take a walk. Take a quick walk after you eat. And have some of you time and get a good chuckle by finding some really funny comedians. So I want to end this with I'll have the link for it, but a quote from a study that Dr. Sachin Panda has in his book as well, because you guys know what a fan of time restricted eating, intermittent fasting that I always have been for too long, as long as most of you have been alive. But I thought this quote was really helpful because I know a lot of my following, you're active and your goal is to lose body fat, to gain muscle, to be happy, to be healthy. And this study I thought was very profound and something you would probably like to hear. So it goes. A systematic study that assessed trained athletes on an 8-hour time-restricted eating showed benefits. These were resistance-trained athletes with excellent physique and body composition to begin with. They were already paying extreme attention to every ounce of fat and muscle mass that they had. So researchers were not expecting too much additional benefit from adopting a 10-week time-restricted eating protocol. These athletes did not see a decline in muscle mass, but surprisingly, their fat mass significantly reduced and many markers of good health were improved. Okay, we're talking probably A1C, maybe cholesterol, blood pressure, health markers. This had led us to believe that for the entire range of people, from non-athletes to extreme athletes, time-restricted eating offers health benefits. And that's pretty much my platform. Please take out the white noise. Time-restricted eating is very beneficial for your health. And that came out of the Journal of Transitional Medicine. I'll have the link for you. But as always, man, I think this is way longer than I wanted it to be, but I find all of that stuff fascinating. To sum it all up, you want to wake up in the morning and not run to the refrigerator. You want to get outside and just stand out there and get bright light. If you can't, get yourself a box light and get some artificial bright light in your eyes, in your face. Don't be in a rush to eat right away because your body is still waking up. You went from dead sleep to being fully awake. And I promise you, and this is what he says in the book, at least for an hour, your body is just not prepared to just start digesting. Give it time for, the digestive juices and the bile and the enzymes and everything to start moving. Give it a second. It's like waking up and going for a full sprint. No, you want to kind of get up and you want to walk a little. So don't rush eating first thing in the morning. Look to see how long it is that you do eat and try to push that to 12 hours or less in a day. You're most productive between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., but try not to sit the whole time that you do that. Set yourself up for a nice dinner and try to have about at least 3 hours before you go to sleep without eating so that you have a good quality sleep. Okay, simple as that. You make those small changes, and quit worrying so much about your macros and the exact amount of calories that you have, you're going to look and feel wonderful. I promise you that. So as always, I hope you guys wake up tomorrow morning feeling prepared and go to bed feeling very proud. I appreciate you guys so much. And as always, this podcast is doing very well. The downloads are always mind-blowing to me. I appreciate that. I love your reviews. Thank you for those. I don't thank you enough for the reviews that I get. And I love that you share it. Anytime that you share it and I get the opportunity to share that you shared, it makes my day. So I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful spring. And let's get that circadian rhythm in check so that we're our healthiest and happiest. Have a great day. Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.